Hiroshima. A nuclear meltdown deforming the marina. Vomiting radiation, fuck shameful. Now people at the beach is getting stung, extra painful. The little boy is splashing in the surf.
His mom is watching.
He screams in pain, his skin is
violently blanching.
She tries to pull him from the sea,
but he's mutating
into a jelly boy with tentacles.
She's not relating. Look out! Look out!
Here come the stingers.
Look out! Look out!
The tentacles are clingers.
Look out! Look out!
Frightening mutations. The radioactive jellyfish is spoiling your vacation. Radioactive.
Japanese jellyfish.
Radioactive.
Japanese jellyfish.
Radioactive.
Japanese jellyfish.
Radioactive Japanese jellyfish. Infecting the sea with poisonous afflictions. Japanese holiday stinger net restrictions. Everywhere they go, they change the population into mutants with atomic degradation. They'll sting you on the nipples.
Burning superpowers.
Peeing won't work.
Forget the golden showers.
Why are the jellyfish more lethal than they seem?
The nuclear disaster made in Fukushima. Look out! Look out!
The swimmers are yelping.
Look out! Look out!
3 reactors melting.
Look out! Look out!
Frightening mutations. The radioactive jellyfish is spoiling your vacation. Radioactive.
Japanese jellyfish.
Radioactive.
Japanese jellyfish.
Radioactive.
Japanese jellyfish.
Radioactive Japanese jellyfish.
That little jelly boy is typical of this. Green, wobbly, ossified, can never laugh or kiss. No more half-price sushi bars. No more anything except his new mutant skill. A radiation sting.
Here come the stingers.
Look out! Look out!
The tentacles are clingers.
Look out! Look out!
Frightening mutations. The radioactive jellyfish is spoiling your vacation. Radioactive.
Japanese jellyfish.
Radioactive.
Japanese jellyfish.
Radioactive.
Japanese jellyfish.
Radioactive Japanese jellyfish. Radioactive.
Japanese jellyfish.
Radioactive.
Japanese jellyfish.
Radioactive.
Japanese jellyfish.
Radioactive Japanese jellyfish.
Hi, hello, what's up? How's everybody doing? Nice to see you all, hello. Welcome to the first episode of CripTalk. I've never done something like this before, and I'm really happy that you guys are here to watch it. It's so exciting, and thank you so much. Our first guest on the show ever is a man that you may know from such things as the band Living in Texas, or perhaps Japanese Jellyfish, or maybe the show called American Horror Story, but I know him as the man who turned down a role in Star Wars, and his name is Matt Fraser, and there he is. Say hi, everybody.
Hey, Velvet. Hey, everybody watching and listening. Delighted to be your inaugural guest and conversational partner in the first CripTalk.
I'm so happy to have you. I was thinking about who to have first, and I thought it had to be you, because we've had so many late night talks about things like this, about disability and about how different we grew up. And there's so much I don't know, because, you'll never know anything, in like the amount of stuff you'll know about somebody. There's so much more.
Yeah, but I think one thing that sets both of us apart from a lot of other disabled people, we're not the same. I'm not saying that we're the same in this respect, because obviously there's the age difference and experience difference and everything, but we're both people that I feel span both worlds of, as it were, for want of a better phrase, disability rights and disability wrongs.
For sure. Yeah.
Because, we're both passionate advocates of the law and rights and facilities for disabled people, but have historically rejected a lot of the more, for want of a better phrase, do-goodery kind of vibe around disability and the overtly political. Although I have noticed when I met you, I'm 20 years older than you?
I would say
15?
so. I'm 35.
Yeah.
I did the math in my head too. So.
Yeah, I'm 58. So anyway, I'm a lot older than you. So that's why when I met you, I was very political and you weren't.
Yeah, I was about drinking.
Yeah, and now I would say you've undergone, I don't know, because I can't speak for you, but from what I can see, you've undergone a kind of political revolution in your mind, body, and soul over the last 5 years, I would say.
Yeah, I think for sure. I think you were a part of that, for sure. Because when I met you,
can't help it.
When I met you, it was right when I started performing like cabaret stuff, like very early on, and I had never been naked on stage until I met you. You did not. He did not talk me into it by any means. You tried. I think we met on a music video or a film shoot.
We met on a film shoot.
Yeah.
It was like a showbiz scene in a theater as part of a film, wasn't it? And filming took ages. It was like the setup took like 5 hours.
Yeah, and we were on stage the whole time.
Yeah, and the whole audience with Lefty Lucy in the middle of us.
Yeah, I had knives thrown at me that day.
Yeah.
Well, near me, not at me, but very near me.
Yeah. That was a lovely way to start a relationship.
It was. And then I think...
Naked and on stage.
Yeah, and I think soon after... Maybe that night you were like, anytime you're in New York, you can stay at my flat. And that led to so many late night conversations after shows. And
indeed, I know, long ones. Because you're one of the few disabled performers I know that have entered the New York burlesque and cabaret variety scene and doing your own thing as well. And I was very excited when you came along.
And I didn't know anyone. Everybody was like, Matt Fraser. And I was like, oh, yeah, Matt. Because I didn't know who you were. I didn't know who anyone was. Everybody was just a person that was maybe a little older than me or maybe the same age. But like, I don't know. I've always had that idea. Like, you've always just been my friend Matt, Even
and you mine. I mean,
I'm not your friend, Matt.
Hold.
I'm crying.
No, you're Velvet, velvety velvet. I'm still hold. Sorry if my chair's a bit overly creaky. I still hold that you're gonna at some point be recognised for the sort of the folk musician, and I use the folk in the broadest sense. Of Americana and document of the American experience that you are. It's just people haven't quite realised it yet. But when they do,
very sweet.
I'll be the one going, oh yeah, I knew him when he was just Velvet.
Just Velvet. You know, when he wanted to be a British rock star. But speaking of which, Matt, I was thinking about the other day. You grew up in England. I don't know where in England.
Yeah.
London? No?
Yeah, I was born in London.
You were born in London?
Yeah, and then my dad came out as gay when I was 9. And my mum and dad split up as a result. And a theatre director, both my parents are actors.
Okay.
My dad's dead now. My mum is still an actor. The theatre director we knew had become the artistic director of the Mermaid Theatre in Auckland, New Zealand, said to my mum, well, you come over here and I'll make sure you're working for a solid year.
Awesome.
So she did and we did. And so that happened. And then when I was 11, we came back to Britain and we settled in Canterbury until my mother met Peter Safka, my stepfather, who was the stage manager at the Canterbury Theatre, the Marlow. And then we moved to fucking Wales, Aberystwyth, just as punk rock was like having its first flourish of youth.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go and be a punk and be this drummer and rid myself of all this horrible disability identity that I had, which was about being teased and bullied and different and other and
was that like
and,
your whole child? Like, was that like when was punk rock for you? When was that? Like high school?
14, 15. Yeah.
So before that,
perfect age.
Did you know other disabled people? Like,
no,
at that point?
I was one of those. I'm one of those disabled people that didn't know any other ones when they grew up. So, and well into my adult life, it was until I started to know disabled people, and it was a political thing. You know, I didn't get to that till I was about 28. Right?
Yeah.
And prior to that, it was a difficult and embarrassing subject for me to talk about because I hadn't really found a way for it to be cool. Yeah. Because I was being given other ways for it to be that have been told by history and society. So people were embarrassed and ashamed and didn't know how to shake my hand and didn't want to date me and all these things. So I was just like, fucking hell, this is really hard to negotiate. Then
were you like a shy kid? Were you
no, I'm looking at I'm bearable. Right. Look at me. I'm just like son of two actors, you know.
Yeah.
Did they want to tell witty stories of 13-year-old and a bunch of adults at a drinks party?
Did they want you to be an actor? Were they hoping that was like what was going to happen for you?
No. I think like a lot of parents of disabled people, they were fearful and hopeful and backed off to see what the person themselves wanted to develop and then hope to support them. No actor, I don't know most actors, unless they're film stars and they know it's easy for their kid to get into the next film. No actor really wants their children to be an actor because they know that they're going to be out of work most of their life.
Yeah, for sure. But so you go. So you go to high school.
Yeah.
And you discover punk rock. Did you drum at that point? Were you drumming?
Yeah. So my mum had a friendship with a guy called Bernard Shaw. Actually a relation to the writer, that's irrelevant, who was a drummer. This is the cool, funky 70s. And I think the relationship was slightly more than the friendship I perceived it to be when I was 13. Yeah. But pretty soon drums were being left around my place. And then I was like, can you set up a drum kit in my bedroom? And he did. And then I just got some sticks and started drumming along to records. That's awesome. And then he shuffled in one day and went, oh, okay, so maybe just try this and then this. And all it was
yeah.
And then paradiddle, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. And he said, do those two things for a year. And he was right, you know, because eventually I could drum along to some of the records.
That's awesome.
And then punk rock happened, and it was like, it's fine. You're not very good, but you really want to do it. That's fine.
Yeah.
You know, that was the message coming from us. So pretty soon I was in a school punk band.
Nice. Was that, that wasn't living in Texas, was it?
No. So that living in Texas when I was about 23.
Oh, okay.
I'd left school. I'd done college. Me and my best mate, Dan, he was in a band. He'd formed a band with this other guy, Steve, the singer, and they poached me from the band I was in.
Gotcha.
And it felt so right because when you can be in a band with your best mate from school.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. Some of my old bandmates are in chat right now, and they're like, right. Totally.
It's invaluable. You know, when this is a huge name drop, and I'm embarrassed to do it.
I'm excited.
The reason Coldplay are level-headed and Chris Martin is level-headed and has a decent relationship with the rest of the band because, you know, he could be one of them, it's all mine, fuck you lot, here's 50 quid a week,
totally.
I'm a millionaire, is that they all, three of them went to school together. and they've known each other since they were 12. So they can say, when I go, stop being a wanker.
I thought you were gonna be like, it's because at the Paralympics I drummed for them, and I really just grounded them.
No, not at all. No, I learned that in that experience. That's one of the things I learned. I thought, because that it is important that you have people that can ground you.
Yeah.
So my problem was that everybody was non-disabled. So I was in this band called the Grateful Dub.
Okay.
By this point, I had 2-foot-long white crusty dreadlocks, and it was 1993.
Yeah.
Right. And yes, I am aware that it was cultural appropriation in hindsight.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was not aware.
Exactly. None of us were. I was a child, but
yeah. Anyway. And I was having all this disability stuff was coming on. It was like a burning cauldron inside me that needed to express itself because I'd suppressed it for so long. So when I finally came out and said it, I said it really unpleasantly and loudly for about 2 years to everybody I knew.
Yeah, angsty Crip.
I'm fucking disabled.
Yeah.
And they were like, we know that. We were wondering when you were going to mention it. You know?
Yeah.
Those were the good ones.
Yeah.
About a third of my friends were like, oof, I'm off. Don't want to do this.
Oh, yeah. They were like, okay, shut up now. Get quiet.
Yeah, but it embarrassed them and they didn't want to do that. That
Exactly.
wasn't the bargain upon which they had allowed me to be in their company.
Totally.
I had broken the seal and so I had to go. But that's fine. They were insincere friends and I've made more sincere friends since then.
Exactly.
And, I'll tell you this. No one ever came up to me and said, you're attractive. Until I was 30, I'd come out as being disabled for a couple of years, and I was more grounded in myself and knew who I really was, and I wasn't sort of pretending stuff that was untenable,
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a big thing. Like, when I met Mel, that was the first summer I spent in New York City, and I had gone into it going like, I'm being invited to play all these fucking really cool shows. Everybody's asking me to do stuff. I was everywhere in the cabaret scene, like at shows. I wasn't in all of them, but I was everywhere for a bit. And I was way more confident and like, I'm strutting my body around and people seem to dig it. They're not laughing. And if they are, it's because I wanted them to. And definitely that confidence just like changes you. Like because I always thought I was really Crip Pride for a really long time. I'm the opposite. I met disabled people when I was like 4 or 5 years old.
Oh, really? What kind of school did you go to?
Well, not the school. I did wheelchair sports. So
okay.
My mom got me involved with that when I was 5. And I just met a lot of disabled people through that. And like, we would only see each other, 2 months out of a year. A couple days here and there. But
so what was it like? Were you a different person with them or what?
Yeah, like I think I was a lot like I am now. I think I was very calm, but I was young too, so I was an idiot, And cuz you realize how much of an idiot you are when you're young. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just how life works.
Yeah, now when you're young, you know everything.
Yeah, oh, totally.
And when you're old, the older you get, the more you realize how little you know.
Totally, and so when I was 20, I had broken up with my then girlfriend, or she broke up with me, semantics, and she did sports as well, and we were in that community, but I was just like, I had finished high school. I was in college, but I hated it. And I had this idea that, like, I wanted to stop doing sports, like, forever. Because it felt like a bubble. Like, it was a safe disabled world. And that wasn't my reality in every day. And that's when I started playing music as Velvet Crayon. Like, same exact time. I quit track and I said, I'm going to just play guitar.
Did you get any medals before you left the genre?
I still have a world record.
What is that?
I think it's so with the Paralympic, it was like the junior version of Paralympic stuff. That's like the dumb way to say it. But shot put.
Yes.
Well, I can't throw a shot put because they're very heavy.
Me neither.
But for certain classes, they classify you by how disabled you are, your range of motion. It's the only way to make it fair. And my classification could throw a softball, and I threw the softball farther than anyone could ever throw it, apparently.
Fantastic.
It's still there.
Wow, that's really impressive. That's an impressive world record.
Thank you. I had some track ones, but there was a good kid that took them all. He's amazing. He's like a Paralympian now. He's great.
Cool. Very cool. Once I was at an all thalidomide. Oh, for listeners who don't know, or viewers, my impairment, I guess we'll get to that at some point.
Yeah.
My impairment, there we go, beautiful, is because my mum took this weird pill back in the olden days.
Is that really why? Like, they know that's why?
Okay, so we've arrived on it. Prior to this drug, you could only get sedatives that had barbiturates in them. So you could kill yourself by mistake or on purpose with sedatives. This was the world's first non-barbiturate sedative. Okay. And then they found out that it cured, or they thought, morning sickness. And so they built it. The marketing was ever more about the morning sickness. Now it got rid of it, and it was the world's first corporate crime that is sort of classified as such.
Gotcha.
Pharmaceutical lies, and all of that business. I won't go into it now because it's its own hour-long documentary, really. Suffice to say that my mum, everybody in those days, listeners and viewers, you have to understand, everybody in those days believed what doctors told them.
For sure.
There was no doubt that they could be wrong. This was the drug that started the doubt. Okay.
Gotcha.
And sorry, I got lost because I always get lost with this subject because it's too enormous.
I said, like, they know that's the reason why you have. Yeah,
absolutely. So I've never had to go, why me, God?
Yeah.
Or because I know
you've never had that moment. Yeah.
No, I've never. I think it's a luxury.
Yeah.
I think knowing why you're disabled and it definitely being that thing.
And I think that's totally a thing. Like, growing up, we used to talk about that. The people that were in an accident or something, they had to come to terms with, this happened to me. Yeah. And, but, like, we have no idea why I'm the way I am. Like, there's theories, but they're all,
But the social experience and the lived experience, not the physically lived experience.
Yeah.
But the social one is very different for those of us that are born like it, right?
Yeah,
because,
for sure. Yeah, I think that's it, especially if you look different too. Like I know, it's just a tough time because you're always doing it in a way. You're always like not a celebrity, like, but it kind of feels like people are looking at you always.
Well, why do you think we end up in show business?
Exactly, it makes sense.
Yeah. I learned this, well, as if I already didn't know it. I was always going to go into it because that's what my parents did and I had a lot of friends. But I was once on a holiday in France. I was 13 and it was the most ridiculously high diving board, which I decided I was going to jump off. And the danger was me climbing up the ladder because it was just a ladder. But I knew I could do it, but I could sense that the people I was with on this weird sort of young people's holiday were a bit nervous, but pretending not to be. So I got up there, and after about 50 steps, I looked over my shoulder, and every single human being, as far as I could see, was looking at me.
Yeah.
Right? And I thought,
that's a feeling.
I've got fucking attention.
Yeah.
So then I, of course, overdid it and started to like do fake fumbles and stuff.
Yeah.
And then got to the top and then jumped off. And I was so exhilarated that that was the moment that I knew, oh my God, I've got to do this. I've got to make myself the spectacle.
Was that like the real first time you realized people were staring? Or did you always you always felt it?
I always get it. I've always had it. Always kids come like, why do you look like that? And
exactly.
People looking and teenagers laughing and all that sort of stuff. You always get it. You always will. But this was a different kind of attention.
Yeah.
And I sort of I absorbed that subconsciously, but it comes back out when you start doing sideshow.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I want to ask you about, and I totally blanked because Norman is in the chat. And
hey, Norman.
Hi, Norman. How you doing?
Nice to see you.
A lot of people are here. Thank you all for coming. I know there's been some notifications, and I'll get to them after because we're just chatting, and I think it's fun. Did you so you got in the show business? Oh, that's what I was gonna ask. were you ever like political and like I don't know the history of crip politics in England. I don't know it at all. Like because in America there was no ADA when I was born.
No.
And then it happened in my I think I was 10 or whatever. And that was like a thing. I remember that happening. Like was there that kind of movement in England?
Well, there was the precursor to the Paralympian movement came after the First and Second World War. So there was this parallel disabled people doing sports strand that was developing itself as a culture.
Yeah.
But for
and
us
was sports ever a thing for you? Did that ever appeal to you? Like
No.
No.
I like running, but I wasn't as good as the really good runners.
Yeah.
And I was shit at javelin and shot put, so that was that,
Because you guys know, like in England, and they know more about the Paralympics, right? Like, or is that a recent thing?
Well, 2012, when we hosted the Paralympics, really boosted it. And we have a politician, she sits in the House of Lords, Baroness Tanni Gray, who's the 4 times world champion Tanni Gray Thompson, wheelchair sprinter. And so, and Adi Adipatan, who is a London African black TV presenter, he was also a very famous wheelchair basketball player when we got to the semi-finals one year.
Yeah.
And so maybe there is more focus on it. We're quite sport focused, the British. I'm not, but mostly they are. Where were we? I was
just saying, like, were you ever involved in sports? Was that
but before that?
I don't know, but that's okay. We can just keep going with it.
This is a very tangential chat. We will get to everything.
What got you? Because when I met you, you had already done CripTease. Like you were very focused on like cripple-based art, and you have been for a long time. When did that turn go from being in like this punk rocker, and you were the drummer. You weren't like the lead singer and stuff. You were drumming.
No.
I've seen the videos.
Yeah. Well,
what was the switch for you?
There was too much attention when you're the lead singer. Mm-hmm. Just the right amount of attention when you're the drummer.
Yeah.
You're in the background a bit. A lot of people would be just really shocked at the end of the show when I'd stand up. Yeah. Because they hadn't really looked when I'd come on stage.
Yeah. And you guys, for people in the chat, I don't think they know, but Matt was in a band called Living in Texas. They have they were on MTV.
We got to number 15 in the alternative charts with our biggest single, Girl in the Red Leather Coat.
Yeah.
Which has exactly the same drum beat as Radioactive Japanese Jellyfish. Well, that's the glitter beat, and it's one of my favorite beats of all time, and it always will be. I just love it so much.
My friend Gibby is asking, who is your favorite punk band? I would be
that's very hard.
It is.
But I luckily have thought about it a lot.
Yeah, I know that.
I've actually spent many evenings thinking, no, but who is my favorite punk band? Mm-hmm. So I streamlined it, and there's a lot of argument about many things, but when push comes to shove, and I'm only allowed one record, if it's a punk record, it's got to be It's Alive by the Ramones, the double live album from 1979.
That's about 200 songs.
Yeah, it's just side 3 doesn't stop. There's no pause in it. It's just, for me, they're like the Beach Boys and punk mixed together. They're like the pop of Beach Boys with the of punk. Yeah. And I was very much into I wasn't an art punk, but I also wasn't a sort of yob punk. So, but I still love the Cockney Rejects, the Yobbo band.
Yeah. And were you guys?
I really liked Susie and the Banshees and the more sort of angular punk.
And you're a big Cramps fan, I know.
I was a big Cramps fan. Yeah. I still am a big Cramps fan. I really adore them. Went to see them 3 times. I saw them.
Nice.
Sadly, a little bit the worse for wear most nights. So I can't remember much about it.
So what was the transition for you from like that phase of your life, being the punk rock drummer and then being the cripple centric artist? I don't know if that's the right words, but I said them. And you can't stop me.
Well, by this time I was in a reggae band in Brixton, living the life with the whole Brixton crusty crew of the early 90s, which was huge then. Yeah. And I think there was a huge disabled rights movement going on at the time, and I wasn't connected to it. And I think that my family saw how angry I was getting about other things like abortion, Nelson Mandela a few years earlier than that. And they were like, I was uncommonly angry about it. And I think they maybe had the feeling or sense that really it was about disability that I was angry, and I just need a little push, you know.
Yeah.
And one day, my mum suggested going to see this play by an all-disabled theatre company called Grey Eye,
Okay.
and Graeae, where it's Greek when they're joined together. They were the three sisters that helped Achilles, and they had one eye, one ear, and one tooth between them. Anyway,
Okay.
and it was a bunch of disabled people spitting cake at each other, saying "fuck off," and
That's
being
so
really, really
good.
crazy on stage. And I had a non-religious epiphany.
Yeah.
It was like everything clicked in because I'd been pushing everything back. I could see those Johnny Crescendo, and I could see the disability rights movement, the more radical ones that looked quite good. And I could see this, and I was like, no, none of it exists. None of it exists.
Yeah.
And then all of it existed
Yeah.
the following morning, all in one go. And then when, unfortunately, my 2-year angry phase happened. Right. The first thing I did, because I was all about music.
So
like
now you were
that's how
angry with a purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also with few but some musical skills. And so I produced a tape called Ungrateful.
Is this
I'd
your
just
rap
been in a
album?
band. No, that was next. That came next. That was called The Survival of the Shittest.
Yes. Yeah.
And I can tell you, I met some pretty bemused looks when you get a topless, 2-foot-long dreadlocks, flipper-armed gentleman, a white guy, rapping
Yeah.
in the mid-90s in a cabaret that's mostly people doing folk music and sort of dancing.
Yeah.
I was met with this. I mean, for those of you that can see, this is the average look. Sort of like a dog that doesn't understand what you're saying.
Did you ever get that feeling like, so when I first started playing as Velvet Crayon, I used to go to these open mics, and I would like
Wow,
dress.
that's brave.
I would dress in all black, and I would bring a ukulele. That's all I would bring, and I would get up to the microphone. You know, I had a friend that hosted an open mic, so I was like, I have this new idea, and I want to try it. And I would go, and I would get very serious and quiet into the microphone and go, there's a song about how I feel about the world, and yeah, it's a song about Legos, and then just play this goofy song. And all the introductions in between were all these very serious satire of protest singers, you know? And people just clap. They don't know what the fuck I'm saying, you know? But there was a degree that I had to separate myself of, like, they're not just pity clapping, you know? And that was, like, a thing I had to get over. Did you ever feel that? Or were you just like,
I'm very
a
sensitive
badass?
to pity clapping and pity thinking and
Yeah.
all of that stuff. And so I always took great pains to make sure that was never going to be able to happen.
For sure.
You know, by encountering people inflicting, I was about to say, which is a Freudian slip if ever there was one, and pressing my agenda on the interaction first before they could give me their pity one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if people like a lot of, I mean, you know, stock answers to things. If I'm giving somebody 15 cents change, and the lady goes, or the man goes, "Oh, aren't you clever with your fingers?" Like that. I go, "That's what my girlfriend says."
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like you've
Yeah.
always got to come back with something
Totally.
to snap them out of their. Because it's not their fault, but they played the part that they were given.
Totally.
They don't know how else to act, so we have to help them, right?
Yeah.
That's how it is.
We have to.
But once I'd seen that and all the politics, and you know, within a couple of months, I was standing in the middle of Downing Street or the Parliament Square, like stopping the traffic with a bunch of people called DAN, Direct Action Network. And they had come over to America, the leaders of that, and seen ADAPT.
Okay, yeah.
The radical demonstration Crips of the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
They'd like joined them and gone taking it back to Britain.
That's awesome.
And formed DAN. And I met, because I was like this, everyone was sitting down and chanting, and I was like, for fuck's sake, this is boring. They come up and like, we're going to take over this thing and we're going to handcuff ourselves to stuff. I was like, right, okay, I'm with you.
I remember that part. That sounds great. Can we stop singing Kumbaya, you know?
Yeah. That was the problem. There was too much kumbaya and not fuck off, you wankers.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
And I feel like and you and I have talked about this before, that you were younger when the fuck you started. And I feel like the fuck you kind of died out a little. It got a little back to like kumbaya for a while. And now, currently, I think we're back in the fuck you. Like
definitely.
COVID like changed that, right? And I think it was building up, but I think it's pushed it, you know?
Well, I mean, I just saw the statistic. In Britain, 65% of all COVID deaths are disabled people.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's, we're getting a hammering
Yep.
at the moment from everywhere.
Yeah.
I know lots of other people are too, and there's nothing special about us in that respect.
Yeah.
But there is, because we're being singled out.
Yeah, for sure.
In many ways.
And not even talking about the numbers that are institutionalized, and just those institutions are riddled with it.
Yeah, well, that's what ADAPT were about, wasn't it? Getting people out of institutions and into independent living. And, you see it's being clawed away by right-wing governments. So it's a tough time. It's a tough time to be poor and disabled right now.
It is.
And I've got a social responsibility. I've got a political and personal responsibility, I think, now that I'm mostly right, when I'm not. That's what I've been doing during COVID. Writing dramas and TV dramas and plays and stuff to try and further the agenda of equality for disabled people. But I realize I've got a responsibility to get on with it, and I can't be, or maybe I'll do a drama where I'm the star and I look great, and then I do some things and it's really cool. I can't be doing anything like that,
And I think about, like,
stuff to talk about.
I see that happening too, like in my own thing. Like, you know me, I'm okay playing music in front of people. I can go on stage. But something like during COVID, I've been asked to be like part of like disability shows, and I'm like, okay, and I'm like, yeah, I'll play a couple songs. But then they're like, do you want to say some things? I'm like, you want to hear what I have to say? What do you mean? So let me play that children's song about Legos,
Yeah, but it's cool, and I think there was a time. I remember there's a very famous professor of disability studies called Professor Paul L. Longmore. Paul Longmore. He's not with us anymore. He died a few years ago, from Berkeley, California. And a lot of what he said has been enshrined and is held up as sort of biblical in many ways, politically, for disabled people. But it was first wave. You might equate it to first wave feminism or first wave Black Power rights or something.
Yeah.
So at some point, a younger set of people come along and they kind of like amend it, right?
Yeah.
They sort of like update it a bit.
For sure.
And when I came onto the scene with my freak shows and my sex this and freak that, in the poster.
I've seen you in the early 90s with those pictures, or early 2000s is when?
Early 2000s.
Early 2000s, really, yeah.
I really put that community's back up. I didn't explain myself. I didn't send them a personal email going, look, it's just a marketing thing. I'm really political, but I'm just doing it differently. Try to understand. I never said that bit.
Yeah.
So they were like, oh, this guy's coming along and shitting on everything we've ever, and I ruffled a lot of feathers unwittingly. I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
But I think we're at peace now. I think we all understand that we're
on the same page here.
We're all on the same page. We're just doing it in different ways. And when you work the sideshow and burlesque and variety cabaret as a place that you've come from, it's not going to be the same as when you're an academic at Berkeley. It's just not.
Totally. We're out there in the real world, where we have.
Well, they are too, because they create the policies that become laws that then we benefit from, so there is that. Yeah. I've just been reading a bit more about that 504 sit-in, the one in CripTalk.
Oh, yeah? Nice. I loved that film. We watched it like the dick, It reminded me so much of being, like, young in sports and that fleeting moment of being around Crips, Because that's what it always was for me.
I only ever had it with the thalidomide holidays, with the society.
Yeah, because every disability kind of has a group.
Yeah,
that's
right, they do.
They do. I don't know if people know this, but everybody does. And they have a convention. Usually that's what they call it in the States.
That's a competition I'd like to see, where you could just, rather than countries, you could split
disabilities
into
against each other.
Yeah. Little people against people with spina bifida.
Oh, that'd be a fight.
Thalidomide.
We could work on that. We can work on that.
But what I did notice was, because a lot of us thalidomides had our anger bought off by the state, if you look at it through a Marxist lens, with a bit of compensation for the drug company.
Yeah.
But whatever. A remarkable number of thalidomides are not at all political and really quite right-wing. It's disappointing. Wow. However, a lot of us used to go and were put on teenage holidays. So I wouldn't know any disabled people and be the scum. Like, listen, I remember when we were all 13, 5 of us blokes went to see 5 of those girls. And when I saw the look of horror on the poor last 5th girl's face as she realized that she was going to get paired with me for so-called snogging.
Yeah.
I realized what was going on. That was a real bolt from the blue, that.
Yeah.
So I'd gone from that to going to an all-thalidomide holiday where my pecking order was way much nearer the top.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, fucking hell, this is great. So, you
Yeah.
know, you got drunk and got laid as much as possible for that week. But then you'd like, the day before you went back, you'd be like, oh,
The worst day ever.
I've got to go back to
Yeah.
being thought of as lesser and half human and all those things.
Totally. And it's that whole, like, yeah, I totally, it hurt me deep there.
So
there's this
we've
Bob...
got to try and...
No, I'm sorry. Go for it.
Well, I think conclusively to that aspect, to that point, for me forward, I've got to get more cripples and disabled people in my life interacting with my non-disabled friends and create the environment where both people can operate within their own and accepted by the community framework.
Yeah.
And all be happy with each other.
Yeah, we need to work
What I'm
together.
saying to that diversity list out there
Yeah.
is that can we please be added to your diversity list?
Yeah,
It's
that'd
been
be
too
nice.
long.
We're never on that list. Anybody's. It's kind of wild. But
It's
but
nuts.
you add a lot to it, because early on when I met you, we did CripFest. My memory of CripFest is a funny one. I had a pedal board that was falling apart because I was leaving for France the next day, or Switzerland.
That's right.
And our friend Jelly Boy was having a grand experience.
Okay.
And that's...
I think I get you. But I remember the pedal board, and I remember how much it was falling apart.
Oh, yeah.
It was that weird double-decker one.
Yeah, and I knew I had to survive 2 months on tour with that. But you organized... Like, I came early, and I saw some of the talks, and that was awesome. That was the most intellectual cripple event I had been to, and then we took off all of our clothes. But...
Yeah. And it was by far the most intellectual one that I'd ever created. And I suppose as you get older, you realize where the funding's coming from. And then that funding officer becomes the head of another department and then calls you in 8 years' time going, we've got a little pocket of money for something. And I was thinking we should have some disability stuff. So can you spend the money for us? And, and then that goes well. And then the next year they like, oh, it was good last year. Let's make sure that happens again this year. And, these things build if you get involved in them.
Because you had done CripTease before that. I remember.
Yeah, that was for the 21st anniversary of the ADA. And I was all about burlesque at that point, 2009.
So that was an American thing. I always thought that was in England.
No. My wife, the glamorous Julie Atlas Muse, huge burlesque star, was top of the tree, and it was all about burlesque all the time. So I figured that's how we have to do the disability show. It has to be a burlesque show. That was the framework through which I saw it. By the time we got to CripFest, it was a friend of mine at the British Council. So a project fell through and 35 grand suddenly appeared.
Gotcha.
And she said, if you can give me a decent application for all 35 grand within the next 10 days, we might be able to. And amazingly, it all worked.
You thought of that in 10 days?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's all we did for 10 days. And we knew we had to have the lectures and the talks at the beginning and the intellectual stuff, and then end with getting our clothes off at the end.
Yeah. But now you're doing CripTales, which I reminded myself it's called CripTales because I go, CripTales, woo. But I don't know if you know that reference. That's DuckTales. DuckTales,
I don't know DuckTales. What's DuckTales?
It was a cartoon when I was a kid. Anyway. But CripTales, you're the host, right? Is that true?
Well, it's 6 individual monologues. But Debbie Christie, the producer at BBC Studios there, approached me and asked me to curate it. So I got to cast all the writers, the directors, and all the actors.
Yeah.
So the first thing I did was cast myself as one of the writers and the actors. And I know that's selfish, and I'm sorry, but
it's okay to be selfish.
But whoever was listening and watching, you would have done the same thing.
Totally, I would have.
And I'm ready. I've been writing for 5 to 6 years now. My writing's got better. I've not had anything put on screen yet, and this is a golden opportunity for me to be seen and then hopefully trusted by people who make drama and TV, because we've got to have more disabled writers. So
have you filmed that yet, or it's filmed?
We filmed it all in January.
Gotcha.
And we filmed it all. We wrapped, and we went for a big dinner. And I went, "Here, have you heard about that new virus that's just come out of China?" I reckon this is going to be the big one.
Yeah.
Joking, because we were talking that horror film framework, right?
Yeah.
And my friend reminded me the other day that that's what I'd said. I was like, oh.
Uh,
But anyway, yes. So I got. It's tough in England. Disabilities, hideously white.
yeah.
But I managed to get one non-white performer and writer team, and one non-white director, Asian guy who directed two of the films.
Yeah.
I got some. It's mostly women. It's mostly wheelchair users. I'm the only straight guy in it. I think it's as good a diversity list as we could have got, and the stories are really,
The stories
it started
are
with
good,
me
you're
commissioning the writers, and the writers said, "Well, I need somebody like this for my story," and so we had to find those things. We couldn't, wasn't up to us. I would have loved to have a little person, and I'm gutted that we didn't have 8.
Yeah.
And instead, we just have 6. However, they're fantastic. I'm really proud of them. And
I'm
they're
excited
coming
to
out.
see it.
Yeah, they're being released on BBC America and AMC and a few other channels on the 1st of October.
Awesome.
But because and I bet you didn't know this because I didn't, I had to be told by BBC America, it's National Disability Employment Awareness Month in America for October.
Okay. Sure.
Because of that, it's streaming free without having to sign on.
Oh, cool.
For the whole of October on quite a few platforms.
Oh, that's
Not
really
sure
cool.
which. Yeah.
I will make sure to link this on all my things, so follow my things and I'll link it. I wanted to ask.
Oh yeah, sorry, go on.
I wanted to ask you because you've done bigger TV stuff. Like, not to say that's not a big TV thing, but you had a higher role in that. But you've been like just an actor, American Horror Story. We've talked about that, and it's been talked everywhere. But I wanted to ask you about a show I really liked, and His Dark Materials.
Yeah.
I really like that show, and I don't know how much you can talk about it because it's still a thing. Are you still on it? Not really.
I can talk about it
Okay.
a lot.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know.
No, I know my boundaries. It's okay.
Because
I won't tell you which one's the cocaine addict. No, none of them.
no, but
None of them.
I really enjoyed the show. I liked the story. I was kind of sad about how they treated your character, though. I felt like they edited you to be the cranky cripple.
Well, here's the thing. Raymond Van Gerrit, my character, was the cranky old asshole.
He was, yeah.
Yeah, in the film. So I got the part, so he became the cranky old cripple by default in that way.
So they didn't have the idea that he was a crip? They just picked you as an actor? That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yes. Yeah, well, the BBC is starting to do that.
That's awesome.
Very slowly. Yeah, I guess it was my second ever part where my disability was not required for the role. Anyway,
that's really cool.
It was a little. It's where they talk about white man problems, or first world problems, or those kind of phrases.
Yeah.
I'm aware that this is a successful crip problem.
Yeah.
But where we are with acting at the moment is that TV companies want us all to make sure we're in it a lot, and they give us 1 or 2 lines so they can go, look.
Yes.
That happened. We're diverse.
Yeah.
But they're not ready to trust us with a main role.
Totally.
Or a role of significance. So that would be what I would call an A or a B role. Well, I get a C and D roles normally, which is fine.
Yeah.
Because you still get to make an impact. However, when they film way fucking too much because they're so excited about the project, and then the poor editor has to actually try and tell the fucking story.
Yep.
And they have to strip away the flack and the fluff.
Yeah.
It's going to be the C and D characters that get stripped away.
Yeah, true.
And so that's what happened. So I started off with five big scenes. I ended up with one slashed to pieces scene, and then my death scene, because I was in that fight in the northern prison.
I know, I heard.
It was a great day. It was a good fight, but they never showed any of it.
Did you use a sword? Did you have a sword?
No, I got to kick the bloke in the balls, headbutt him in the head, knee him in the stomach, and then when he went down, kick him in the face, and then I got my throat slit. It was really cool.
What people may not know is Matt is a great fighter. Is that the right? You're not a martial artist. Okay, martial artist is the right word. I didn't know.
Yeah, I've been a martial artist since 1987, and I gave it up probably about beginning of COVID when I realised that I was never really going to go back to hitting things on a regular basis 3 times a week because my body can't take it anymore. I got little arms. And so my knees, hips and ankles have overcompensated all my life by doing loads of things that long arm people don't have them do, plus kicking shit for the last 30 years. So my healer, Herbie Berger, who was a black belt in judo and karate, I think, said to me, "Face it, man. You know, your connective tissue is more important than your ego." Words to that effect. Why are you hitting things? Are you going to be in a competition next week? No. Stop it.
You can do all the Zen stuff without hitting things.
Well, you can do all of that
Exactly.
stuff as well, as long as you just do it in the air.
Yeah, just don't impact. The impact is just hurting you.
Yeah.
But you, oh man, you're in a kung fu movie? Is that true? No. Come on. Is it anywhere we can watch?
It's a bad film.
I know.
I've got the lead. It's called Unarmed and Dangerous, or Unarmed but Dangerous. It's a London gangster film made by, should we call them, businessmen?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That we met. Quite scary businessmen sometimes.
What time period is that movie in your life?
2003 or 4 or 7. So yeah, but
so after 50. Coney Island, like after you came and did Sideshow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Me and
Unarmed and Dangerous. That's
me and Xavier Loret, who'd worked together in the theatre. I was like getting drunk one night. I was like, why can't I be in an action film? Why can't I get the lead in something like that? And unbeknownst to me, he went off and wrote this thing. So then he knew this bunch of interesting business people that make films.
Yeah, did he tell you he did this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, he came with a fait accompli. He was like, weird things have happened in the last week. I wrote this script, which I didn't tell you about, and it's just been funded.
That's hilarious.
Because he gets a phone call from the producer from Cannes Film Festival who goes, "Oi, Xavier, I'm at this party, and there's this birdie, and she says, I've got to do, if I get some money, if I've got to do a disability project. And I remembered you wrote that script, didn't you? Well, we'll greenlight it."
That's so good.
However, 35 grand. And the reason I'm not giving you any names is because
it's better for both of our safety. Yeah, it's better.
No,
we don't talk about it. Yeah,
but,
I had that mistake happen one night. But
yeah, but you know, listen, we're maverick, ducker and divers. We don't get offered stuff through the regular channels, mainstream way. We can try our efforts at that, but we won't get the rewards. We have to go around the side and around the back and do things differently. So when these opportunities approach us, we see them as the opportunities. And I realized, when am I ever going to have the chance to be the lead in an action film?
Yeah.
Never.
Totally.
So I said yes.
I was in Berlin a few years ago, and we went to a friend's comedy show. They were like a stand-up comedian. And after the show, we were sitting around having drinks, and you know, I drink quite a lot when I'm in Europe because it's so cheap, and it's I never know which water is bubbly, you know, and but I know the beer is good. So we were sitting there, and I said to him, I was like, it'd be so nice, like I'd love to do stand-up someday, but you know, like the cripple joke, and then the next day, or maybe that night, Mel told me the next day, she was like, so you agreed to be in next week's show, you know?
Oh, wow.
So maybe it wasn't even a week. I think it was like 3 days later I had to do a 10-minute stand-up comedy set. But
How did it go?
It went well. Like, it was an English-speaking comedy club.
Well, that helps. That always helps.
Yeah, that helped.
Wasn't in Germany, though, was it?
Yeah, it was in Germany. They clapped. They had a good time.
Yeah, but that's
because
they told you. They came up after and said, "We had a good time."
They do. The German audience does do that. It's true. Yeah, but
because they weren't laughing.
No, they were laughing. It was because it was an American night.
This is my light-hearted, cliched British, softly racist attitude to the Germans that they have back with us.
Yes.
And as far as I'm concerned, it's a bit of banter. But upon reflection, in public, I realised I should get with the thing and get a bit more woke and stop being an old wanker about it.
Wake up, Matt. You're sleeping right now.
God. If I'd have learned German, if I'd have learned German in school, which I wasn't allowed to because I wasn't good enough at French. When we were on German tour that first time in '91, I was so impressed with Germany. Yeah. I would have moved there, definitely.
I love Berlin. Berlin's one of my favorite places ever.
I like Hamburg.
I've never been there. I would love to go to Hamburg. But it was fun. I played some songs, and I told jokes. I wrote some jokes. I don't remember any of them, but I think.
Did you want to do it again?
I actually kind of did, because our friend James at the Slipper Room asked me to host one night, and I was like, luckily, I just did a stand-up comedy set like a couple weeks ago. It's still in my phone notes, probably.
Yeah.
So
Your hosting's good. I like your hosting.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know if I saw that one, but I've seen a few subsequent ones. And
Yeah.
It's you're the thing is, you do obviously you have to have the skills and know what you're doing and remember the person's name and all that stuff. But as long as you're easy with yourself and
Yeah.
relaxed, and you know the things you're good at and you can do them,
Yeah.
it usually goes okay, doesn't it?
Exactly, and I think I've built this velvet crayon character on stage. That's because it was true for a long time. I was drunk for a long time, but now that character, I'm pretty much sober. So now I just get to play the part, you know.
Yeah,
And
great.
it's much easier to play the drunk than to be the drunk. So,
God, yes. Worst gig of my life with alcohol was in Rome, and I had 7 pints of beer before the show. And second song in, I knew I was in trouble.
yeah, I had a show in Amsterdam. It was at this place called the Crust Bar, and
Whoa,
yeah.
that sounds pleasant.
The stage was some guy's house, and
Of course it was.
but it was a big house, and it was in the living room. And when we arrived, I went into the kitchen and saw a mound of white powder.
Was the guy baking some bread or something?
Sure, yeah, that's
Yeah,
what they were doing with it, and he was doing it real fast, you know. So there was that, and then I was like, oh, so it's gonna be a night, and I don't partake, but something about European hospitality. Anytime they saw my drink half empty, somebody would come by and fill it right back up for me. So
Awesome.
the end of the show, I remember the show. I remember at the end of the show, I played like 3 songs. It was a sideshow, and then at the end, I played songs. I remember going, "Thank you, good night," and that's it. That is literally
That's the result.
the last. And so that moment that you're like, I made it through it, you know? I survived.
Yeah, but they're terrifying sometimes.
Oh,
One
yeah.
time, this is the worst one ever. I was very young, and I was depping for another band, and but I remember that all their drumming was really easy. It was all just mid-paced rock stuff, and I thought, well, I can sit in and help you guys out because they lost their drummer. He hadn't turned up to the festival, but I'd eaten the hash brown and I didn't tell them. All I remember is coming to, right, like not remembering leaving, but coming to and thinking, it's a bit weird. I'm sitting on stage behind a drunk here. And then I look, and the band were all looking at me, and the singer was singing, but like pointing at me. And then I realized he was singing "Our Drummer's So Wasted, He Doesn't Know What's Going On"
Nice.
song, because I had failed to give them the backing they needed to do the
so
song that was arranged. That was one of the worst ones.
Do you feel
But
like...
you live and learn.
Oh, yeah. We're all saying stories when we were young. Did you ever feel like people always wanted me to be drunk? I feel like if I was out drinking, they're like, I gotta buy that cripple a drink or something, you know?
But maybe there's that.
Yeah.
Maybe there's that. I don't think I can blame how spectacularly wasted I've got in the past.
No, not all of it.
on
Not by
anyone
any
else
means.
but
I'm saying.
myself.
Oh,
you know?
yeah. I'm not blaming it at all. It was totally my choice. I'm just saying it's a funny thing, you know? Like, I'm pretty introvert. It's weird to say, but I think, like, we go to I've never gone to a party with you. I don't think that's true. I don't think we've ever...
Well, yeah, but a lot of in our network of friends, a lot of gigs turn into after parties. Don't
Exactly. Yeah,
they? You
but
know, so
but,
I mean, come
but
on,
the
theatre's
party is
bizarre.
us just like sitting there half awake, and like I feel like a lot of performers are introverts, and it's funny that
Sure.
it's that way, but then we seem so extroverted, you know?
Well, look, I watched the Spasms Radioactive Japanese Jellyfish video again recently, obviously because we just uploaded it.
Finally.
After 5 years.
Finally. I was
And
going to
the
leak it.
I'm so sorry that it took 5 years.
It's
But
messing
you know, the funniest bit for me is when you put your mask on. I don't know why,
Hold on.
it gets me every time.
Hold on.
I love that. I do love that. Yes, if you haven't seen it yet, people, you should check it out. Not just the mask, but the video too. That's it. And for British people or just Doctor Who fans, the resemblance between your koala mask and the original Cybermen is too close for comfort. I still get a bit of because they were, when I was a kid, the Cybermen were, the Daleks were fine, but the Cybermen were the ones that really scared me.
Yeah. The last thing, we're at like 8 o'clock. We could go longer if you want, but I have one more question for you that I really need to know, Matt. And it's, why did you break my heart and not be in Star Wars? And I think I know why. But so the reason I'm asking is I think I remember why you turned down. Matt was asked to be in Star Wars, guys. It's true.
But there are mitigating circumstances before everybody throws their hands up in horror.
Yes.
Which was, I had just done some quite successful television in America.
American Horror Story.
Yes, I think it was American Horror Story.
It was right around that.
And then I got a call from somebody that I had known from 20 years previously. He's like, hey, now I'm doing this. Come to Shepperton Studios. We're making the new Star Wars film. At this point, I was like, I thought Star Wars was like from the 70s or over or the end or something.
Yeah.
You know, and they invited me in. And, you know, as far as they were concerned, they were offering a man that had been of questionable employment when they knew him.
Yes.
A really amazing chance in something that would elevate his life experience exponentially. Sure. But what I heard was them offer me a job that was to be a monster or, you know, an alien being, which is fine. You know, who doesn't want to play one of those? But total 100% coverage, no face, no hands, no mat.
They weren't even going to put your hands in it.
That's what?
They weren't even going to put your hands in it.
No, I mean, I was going to have truncated arms, but it wasn't. You weren't necessarily going to go. That's just man. Of course. Yeah. And I know what I'm like.
Totally.
I'm very bitter if I get dealt a low blow.
Yeah, and that is a low blow.
And sitting in a rubber suit in the heat of a studio while other people get to be actors and then remember to be nice to the disabled one that's in the suit.
Exactly.
I was like, that's going to last about a week before I fucking deck
someone.
Totally. So,
and I jokingly give you shit because it's Star Wars, but I totally get what you mean. Like,
yeah. So I was like, no way, but you're not alone. Julie, my wife, still berates me about that.
But I get why.
She still gets angry.
Like a couple years ago, I was asked to be on Halloween. Halloween, I get the weirdest requests, you know. I hate Halloween at this point. Yeah. But it makes you think, like, people really just, it's like, not pity, but like, it's weird. It's a weird, like, oh, you could fill this weird niche for me, this moment, you know? I don't know. It gets them, what, we had a word for it recently. Oh, man, it was like social points or something, you know? They helped out the cripple.
Yeah, whatever.
I offered you a job.
My favorite one of those is one Theatre Bizarre. I turned up. I was wearing my Seal Boy jacket from the glory days of Coney Island, and a guy saw me and clearly assumed I was an able-bodied person being a Seal Boy as a costume for Halloween.
That's some good CGI.
But yeah, he was across the car park and he was probably drunk or wasted or so. And he entered into the spirit of my costume by shouting across hey, Seal Boy, how do you, I don't know what it was, wipe my butt or a physical function that he had would hilariously be difficult for somebody with short arms, whatever. And I was like, it actually got to me.
Yeah.
Because I never let things like that get to me.
But when it's unexpected like that.
But then as the evening progressed, and you know how those evenings progress,
I do.
I began to see it from his point of view, and I thought, oh, God, the poor guy.
Yeah.
He's totally fucked up. Yeah. And then I met him, and it was in the volunteer bit in the basement, so he had something to do with it. And he was ashen-faced and go, dude, I am so sorry for what I did. And I felt so sorry for him because he was really in pain at the thought of what he'd done, you know.
Yeah.
That was meant to be a funny story, but it was just
a
human story.
I think that's a human story, and that's good, because I think during all of this, like, we see on the news all the really shittiness and all the really shittiness, but then there's all the really good shit that's happening. Like, I know it doesn't seem like it, but there's a lot of really nice people in the world.
There is, and in disastrous times, great wartime rebellious spirit rises, doesn't it?
Exactly.
And you know, we're all supporting each other and helping each other fight this foe.
Totally.
However, you know, but I must say, it's fantastic to talk to you.
Yeah, this has been great. Thanks for being my first guest.
I'm honoured. I'm so honoured. I'm sorry if I rambled a bit. I was a little non-sequential and rambly.
I liked it. That's what I wanted it to be. I think that's
okay. Good.
That's
a thought occurs to me, and I don't want to put you on the spot on the air.
okay.
But it kind of will.
Yeah. That's fine. I can lie to chat.
How do we access deaf people to this? How can we get subtitles on this?
There are subtitles.
There are?
Yeah, I have subtitles. Yeah.
Excellent.
You can. Yeah, we have subtitles. So there you go. I have subtitles on all my live streams on Twitch.
Is that an automatic thing?
No, I had to set it up.
But you don't have to type it.
No, it's voice recognition.
Oh, I've got to get that sorted.
Yeah, you can do it on Google Meet. That's one reason why we are using Google Meet. But Twitch, I set up doing it so that it's in the program I use and it auto captures. It's not the most accurate, but it's the best I could get on my, whatever. I can't figure out a better way.
Okay. Well, I shame myself then in that respect.
No, we have them. Yeah, I didn't want to do CripTalk until I could figure it out.
Quite right too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
And are you going to upload this?
Yeah, I'm going to put this on YouTube probably tomorrow. Sounds good.
Okay.
Because now I'm going to go watch TV.
I've got to go. Yeah, now I've got to go eat.
Yeah. What are you having? What are you having for dinner?
Well, I'm going over to our friend Anita's place for dinner.
Fancy.
Who's just literally up the road. And I'm late because Julie's there, all right, helping with the dinner. And there are lots of vegans in that house. I think it's quite a small amount of people. And we all sit quite a long way away from each other, eating really nice vegan food.
That's nice.
Mushrooms and sweet potatoes and rice and beans. And
you and Julie are great cooks, so. Except for that weird juice tea thing you make. That too much for me. When I'm sick, they try to make me drink this concoction.
Oh yes, it's boiled fresh ginger.
Oh, it's disgusting.
With lime and stuff in it, and then I add a whole load of propolis, which does make it revolting. But it's so good for your throat.
Yeah, sure, maybe. My throat can suffer. Thanks for hanging out,
Not the
Matt.
title of a film we want to star in. All right, then.
We will. I'll have to have you back again someday, of course. And
yes, I'd be delighted. I'd be delighted, and I look forward to seeing you, obviously on a personal level, but when we are allowed to visit.
Yeah.
But also working with you again on something somehow.
We got to play more tunes together. Yeah. Check out the Spasms on YouTube,
and check out all of Velvet Crayon's music. And what I'd love to is one day you could do a gig and have the Velvet Crayon band, and I could just be the drummer in that. That would be the best.
Maybe if you're lucky, Yeah. We'll see. But thanks for hanging out.
Okay.
I'll talk to you soon.
Who goes first? Shall I leave?
Yeah, you can leave. I'll say bye to chat and stuff.
Okay.
Oh, wait,
bye,
I have to ask you. Do you like pigeons? What are your thoughts on pigeons?
I like them fine, but that's such an oppressed subspecies that they're filthy and virulent, and you have to be very careful of them. It's not their fault, but that's how it is.
Yes. Very, very poignant words to our discussion we've had all night. Thank you very much, Matt. Thanks for hanging out. All right, bye.
Lieutenant Pigeon, Moldy Old Dough, 1972, one of the best pop records ever made. Lieutenant Pigeon, Moldy Old Dough. Love ya.
Bye. All right, chat. I'm still here. I'm switching to this. Oh, fancy. Oh, I don't have subtitles here. Hold on. Let me turn them on. Sorry. I don't know where the thing is. Hi, there's subtitles here. I want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you so much for coming. I can't believe how many of you came to this. It means so much to me. Follow the channel if you've never been here before. There's no subtitles. You have to click CC in the Oh, there isn't subtitles. I don't know how to turn them on. Oh, there we go. There, you click the CC and they should be here. But thank you for hanging out. Yeah, the green screen headphones. If this is your first time to my Twitch, don't forget to follow. I stream every day. And next week, at the same time as this, I'm going to do a Velvet Crayon concert. So come check it out. And yeah, tomorrow I'm playing Minecraft. If you like Minecraft, I'll be there. Notifications. Thank you, Kamal, for the gift sub to, I believe it was Glitch. Thank you. Thank you for that Prime subscription. Thank you all for the follows. You all rock so much. I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out. All right. Bye. See you later. I gotta go. I gotta pee. I gotta go rage pee. I'll see you later. Bye.